You ever look at today's pickup trucks and think, why are they all gigantic? Like seriously, every year they seem to grow taller, bulkier, and heavier, almost as if size alone equals utility. But what if someone designed a truck that challenged that idea entirely? A truck that's compact, efficient, and actually makes sense for everyday people? Meet TELO, and if the name reminds you a little of Aptera, that's no coincidence. Because what Aptera is doing for cars, TELO just might do for trucks. When I first stumbled upon TELO, I didn't expect much. I figured it was another futuristic startup with flashy renders and big promises. But the more I looked into it, the more it started to feel familiar. That same light bulb moment I had when I first discovered Aptera. You know that feeling when a design just clicks? When you look at something and instantly think, yes, this makes sense. That's exactly what happened with TELO. If I were designing my own small electric truck, this is probably what I'd end up creating. So, what is TELO, really? In the simplest terms, it's a micro-sized electric pickup that's about the length of a Mini Cooper, just 152 inches long. Yet somehow, it claims to do what full-size trucks do, and sometimes even better. Right now, TELO doesn't have a complete prototype, just a drivable chassis and an exterior mock-up. So, yes, it's early, like Aptera in 2019 early. But even at this stage, the concept is incredibly ambitious. Imagine a vehicle that's smaller than a Prius, shorter than most sedans, yet still manages to have a truck bed big enough for a 488 sheet of plywood. Let that sink in. Here's where things start to get really interesting. They created this clever gear tunnel system beneath the bed floor. That tunnel can store tools, surfboards, or even serve as part of a sleeping setup. Yes, you heard that right. That's the kind of detail most truck makers completely overlook. They focus on horsepower, not practicality. And here's the wild part. Fold down the rear seats, and the entire bed extends into the cabin. Suddenly, you've got an 8-foot bed in a mini-sized vehicle. It's like a mini camper truck for people who don't want a massive rig dominating their driveway. Now, this is where TELO gets ambitious. Maybe even too ambitious. They say it can seat up to 8 passengers. It's part minivan, part pickup, part Swiss Army knife. Here's how it supposedly works. You have 2 seats in front, 3 in the middle, and another 2 or 3 tucked behind in a hidden third row. To make that happen, they use the same gear tunnel area as an access point. It's clever, but also a bit puzzling. Because once those back seats are in place, the rear passengers are basically sealed off from the main cabin. No airflow, no easy way to pass things forward, and definitely no graceful entrance unless you're part gymnast. Still, as a concept, it's genius. It's the kind of creativity that reminds you why startups matter. They're not afraid to challenge what's normal. At its core, TELO tries to merge 2 worlds. The utility of a pickup, and honestly, that's exactly what most people actually need. Most truck owners aren't towing horse trailers or hauling half a ton of cinder blocks. They're running weekend projects, heading to the beach, or transporting bikes and gear. TELO nails that use case. It's the right size for real life. Load up lumber from Home Depot, toss in your surfboards, or pack camping gear, all without needing a ladder to reach your truck bed. It's practical minimalism in motion. Now, let's talk numbers. Because TELO's targets are bold. 350-mile range, 0 to 60 miles/temp in 4 seconds, 500 horsepower, 1,800 lb payload capacity. Those specs would make it one of the most capable small trucks ever designed. Are they realistic? Probably optimistic. But even if TELO hits 80% of those targets, it's still an impressive feat for its size. And that's where things get fascinating. This little truck might not outmuscle a Rivian or a Ford Lightning, but it could outsmart them. The moment I saw TELO, I immediately thought of Canoo, another compact EV startup with a futuristic look. Canoo had great ideas, but the execution struggled. They lost over 99% of their stock value since their peak, though they're still alive, delivering fleet vehicles to NASA and Walmart. Canoo's truck looked similar, but its space usage wasn't as efficient. For example, that big cabin only fit 2 people. Meanwhile, TELO's cabin, even smaller, fits 5 to 8. That's the difference between innovation and iteration. TELO learned from others' mistakes and doubled down on practicality. Of course, there are trade-offs. Pushing the driver's seat forward means there's less crumple zone for impact safety. TELO says they're designing a deflection system, where frontal impact forces move downward rather than into the cabin. It's an interesting approach, maybe even revolutionary, but it still needs real-world validation. And then there's aerodynamics. With exposed front wheels, it sacrifices the sleek efficiency Aptera is known for. Adding simple wheel covers could drastically improve airflow, but style might be dictating form here. These are the kinds of details that determine whether TELO will just look cool or actually work well. Let's be real. Building cars is brutal. Even giants like Lucid and Rivian spent billions getting to production. Canoo raised over $1 billion and barely made it. So when TELO says they want to deliver vehicles by 2026, that's ambitious. Regulations for 4-wheeled EVs are far stricter than for lightweight autocycles like Aptera. This isn't a weekend project. It's a multi-billion-dollar challenge. But here's the hopeful part. TELO's leadership team isn't new to this game. Their CTO founded PlugShare, the app EV owners rely on every day, and Mission Motors, an electric motorcycle pioneer. They've already proven they know how to innovate. Now they just need the funding to scale. And honestly, I think TELO's vision matters more than people realize. It challenges this idea that bigger equals better, that the only way to be safe is to drive something the size of a small building. But what if true safety came from right-sized design? Smaller vehicles, smarter energy use, and shared responsibility on the road? If TELO succeeds, it could reshape how Americans think about trucks the same way Aptera reshaped how we think about cars. Because let's face it, most people don't need a monster truck. They need something efficient, affordable, and fun. TELO might just be that perfect balance between utility and reason. So, will TELO actually make it to production? Maybe. Maybe not. But here's what I know. They're asking the right questions and tackling real problems. They're designing with intention, and that's something this industry desperately needs. If TELO can turn their vision into reality, we could be looking at the Aptera of trucks, a symbol of what happens when innovation meets common sense. And personally, I'm rooting for them, because the world doesn't need bigger trucks. It needs smarter ones.